Well, it's happening, people. Good evening. Welcome to the virtual Cobalt Cafe, week number 268 of our virtual series. Glad to have you all with us. Feels like we've got a room full of regulars, people who know each other, so should be an easy night for all of us. Great to have everyone here to participate in the reading as well as to hear our featured reader, Walker Valdez. Walker, glad you're back with us. I'm looking forward to your reading. We're going to do a little bit of our open reading first, as usual, and then hear Walker read, and then have the rest of the open reading. If you would like to read and you haven't already done so, please send me a message in the chat and I'll be happy to add you to the list. 2 poems maximum, less is more is the suggested time limit. 1 drink minimum here at the Cobalt. Make sure you have a beverage with you to keep yourself happy and satiated. And what's the word when you're not thirsty? Whatever that word is, that's the word I just said. Let's just pretend. All right. What else can I tell you? Of course, the chat room is open for everyone to be able to interact with each other throughout the festivities, send each other messages, post links of things, etc., etc., etc. Hydrated. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Chris. Well done. Leave it to someone in Japan to tell us how English works. We really appreciate that. All right. By the way, Denise Dumars, you will be up first in just a second. Julian, I like your choice too, drunk. Important addition to the conversation. Before we get on with our first reader, Denise, are there any questions? Martin, yes.
Good evening, Rick. I was just wondering, have you ever developed a secret language or code?
I haven't developed a secret language, but I learned one once that my friends and I lovingly referred to as Moose Egyptian, in the vein of Pig Latin, which is really just a rearrangement of English. So if you know how it works, you know how it works.
Cool.
All right, Martin, thank you so much for that question. What else do we have? Cathabella, yes.
Rick, do you hum? And if so, what might you be humming?
I don't know that I hum so much. I do sing quite a bit, if that counts. I kind of skip past the humming phase and just get right to the nitty-gritty, the words and the notes and such. And it could be whatever's on the radio. It could be songs that my wife and I have carefully chosen to share with the community as part of the work that we do. And then sometimes you're just wandering along and a song pops in your head and you find that you're just singing that.
Right, lovely, thank you.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Cathabella. Any other questions? All right, well then let us get on to our open reading. Jeffrey Bryant, you will be on deck. Our second reader, please welcome our first reader, Denise Dumars. Hello, Denise.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight? I hope everyone's doing well. I'm just going to read one. It's getting to be that time of year, so I'm getting into my autumn stuff. So that's what this is. Oh, I wanted to show you about a book that I bought. Look at this fabulous book. It's really cool. Definitely you should get it. I really enjoyed it. Okay. So this is one of my autumn poems. I haven't read it before. It's called The Auburn Season. And now we turn from scorching Jaune to the auburn time of year. Before the black and white of winter mist, mud gray, blood moves thickly, the leaves red rust, the spilling burnt umber of the autumn scarf, a flash of late afternoon sun on red-brown hair. It is now the auburn season. Baked squashes darken like the lead-based coal we used to line our eyes. Sun-glistened hair now darkens to sienna. Heads are hanging, shoes are shushing on. The fallen pine needle carpet, which has gone from vert to burnt ochre, taming the sunset, the harvest wicked from fields. It is now the auburn season. Raincoat shade of mahogany, the wind-whipped seed pods, desperate for new life, dun and walnut, sadness in a color like the fires, scorching the dry grass, whipping the winds of death and bring the flames to life, and deaden daylight sky, from icy blue to angry cinnamon. It can only be the autumn coming. It is now the auburn season. Thank you.
What a fantastic season name, Denise. Thank you so much for sharing that. And might I tell you how much I admire your taste in literature as well, and what you choose to spend your hard-earned money on as well. Thank you very much for that. Glad you're enjoying it. Honored that you picked it up. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here tonight. Round of applause for Denise Dumars. On deck, Debbie Siegel. Please welcome Jeffrey Bryant. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hi. This is a really super new one. I wish I'd kept your instructions, because you're like Swedish furniture. I don't know what goes where with you. You looked so good on display. I massaged your gorgeous particle wood under bright lights, and you just screamed, "Hey, I belong in your bedroom." It must be the meatballs, the distress of an empty frame, napkin rings calling out for homes, coasters that need therapy. You just want to be a mess, like some kid lying on the mud club floor who can't rise, a box of parts. That's all we are or ever will be. I cannot assemble that which resists assembly. Okay, let's try this. Try tongue A to mouth A. And let's see if that causes a few midnight shooting stars. Thank you.
I think there's definitely a future in IKEA manual writing for you, Jeffrey, which you might consider. That one and only direction you gave was, I think, more than anyone would ever need. So well done. Thanks for being here. Nice job. Good new poem. Round of applause for Jeffrey Bryant. On deck, Bill Gaines. Please welcome Debbie Siegel. Hello, Debbie.
Hello, Rick. Hello, everyone. This is very new, wet paint. So, Abraxas. Clockwise zephyrs ripple the waters, and from a font of bone grow the reeds and rushes, against a plummeting certainty of tide and bees. In fennel and vetiver, a harmony of notes calling down the wind, this light, this buzzing. These green lands go on and on away to seas, and the sun gives light from his shining, and the moon gives light from her gloaming, and stars give light from their gleaming, and the mind accepts many facets, and this froth that crashes on rocks, billowed between affable wisdom and the ineffable tempest's secrets. Spilling, the sun sinks below horizons, and the crescent moon is rising under light of dark madness, begetting a whistling and listening to Pan's sweet piping, whipping into a frenzy, a mandala of nymphs. In the woods, ripe fruit leaps into the palms of apes, while grateful prey lays down in the paws of a lioness. Until we sing of the dancing stars again, of the benevolent and furious union of opposites. Thank you.
Debbie, thank you. Nice to see you again. Gorgeous all around, including the background you've got going on there. Yeah, lovely. Thanks for being here. Welcome back. Round of applause for Debbie Siegel. On two more readers than our featured reader, Walker Valdez, Christopher T. George. You're on deck. Please welcome Bill Gaines. Hello, Bill.
Hello. How's everybody doing? I have two. I'm going to read two for you. The first one is called Modern Thing. Here lies a monitor projecting the sights and sounds of the 21st century zeitgeist, an unfocused fast-cut montage of the systemic sacrifice of individuality for the benefit of the collective individual, a bipolar pudding-like pushover anthill of unearned inherited free will for us to watch like reality television while driving reality cars and eating reality pizza and reciting simultaneous reality monologues loudly enough to ignore the reality. And we, the cynical offspring of the me generations, we negate the essence of a work of art created by no one and paid no attention until it is no longer art, just a thing that does what it does like any modern person. The montage is beautiful fireworks and schools of fish and a great flying monster that gobbles up stars, and we keep our distance at all times. We avoid the world, but we call it art. We ignore the art, but we want to be artists. Art never started a war. Art never fed the race. So here's to it. Hats off, glasses raised. This monitor that shows us our strongest power and our deepest flaws. We send with it a little piece of ourselves as we watch it float away. And then number two is called Riverboats. Look at that river. I've been there. The structures have seen me and I have seen them. They built machines and changed its course, but the buildings still reach up and the people still build machines, and the river is still the river, and the riverboats still carry me the way they always did. End of piece.
Bill, great work tonight. That first poem, though not a particularly long poem, was much longer than you usually read, so it's essentially your epic, as best as I could tell.
There, I'll take that. Let's go.
And it was a great piece as well. So
Thank you.
cool. Thank you so much. Well done. Round of applause for Bill Gaines. On deck, Christopher T. George. No, wait, sorry. On deck is our featured reader, Walker Valdez. Please welcome now Christopher T. George. Hey, Chris.
Hi there, Rick and everyone. Can you hear me? You getting me? Can you hear me, Rick?
Yes, we can hear you, Christopher.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Should be able to see this. This is Emmett Till. He was killed the same year that I arrived in the United States, so I kind of see a connection between us. Specifically, he was killed by some white men on August 28th, 1955. And it was 7 years earlier that I arrived in New York aboard a Cunard liner from England, from Liverpool, where I was born. It was my mum and I. My dad had preceded us in August aboard the Queen Elizabeth from Southampton. And this is my mum and I in our passport photograph. I was 7 years old. Emmett Till was 14 when he was killed. Emmett Till until the end of time. Emmett, before I came to the US, age 7 in 1955, I didn't know the expression Good Samaritan or Good American, as I first misheard the name. On January 30th, 1955, I arrived via a liner on a New York dockside. 7 months later, you were 14 years and 1 month old, a black kid from Chicago visiting relatives in Money, Mississippi, who broke an unspoken rule, so the local whites claimed, when you whistled at a 21-year-old white girl in a Crossroads candy store. Emmett, you were 7 years and 8 months older than I was when the white men murdered you, bludgeoned you, reduced your face to a bloody pulp, shot you in the right ear, lashed your body to a cotton gin, and hurled you into the Tallahatchie River. Emmett, somehow, I feel you and I are tied together until the end of time. Absences. Before the war, I sang in the choir. My tongue traces the gap where my back molars stood. I voiced ah in exercises before the mirror, like so. I put my tongue on the roof of my mouth and sang ah. Bog Royal's where our village stood. An old man tills the dark earth, readies the soil for beans and potatoes, explains how the bones of the dead will help them grow. Perhaps he's just a trickster, a joker, a phantom of light. Red poppies spring up in the fallow fields overnight, feeding on the blood and hair of the dead. I remember old Monsieur Dupont, how he sang bass. Oh, such a beautiful voice, a round note in a tunnel, always the spittle at the corner of his mouth, spoiling the picture, but how his bass complemented our sopranos. The brick wall where they shot him, pitted with bullet holes, red rosettes, prizes for our singing. With each tooth lost, each scar, the voice changes, the breath stolen. Bog Royals now where the chapel stood, no bell tolls. Thank you, everyone.
Christopher, thank you so much. Great to have you back in the fold with us. Good to hear your work. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Christopher T. George. On deck after our featured reader will be Julian Matthews. That leads us now to our featured reader, Walker Valdez. Walker, I'm awfully happy that you're here with us. I'm sure everyone here, since we've got all regulars in the house tonight, knows Walker from past participation in this reading series, and I'm always thrilled to give our own a chance to have a featured reading. So there you go. Some info about Walker. He's a Bolivian American spoken word poet, educator, and teaching artist from Falls Church, Virginia. Storyteller, blends humor and wordplay to speak on the Latin American experience. So in other words, an important voice for our time when so many voices are being stifled. He's got a BA in English from Marymount University and a Master of Education in Special Education. In other words, doing the work of the Lord. Well done, Walker. He's performed all over the DC area and all kinds of different venues that are there. and has his work published in a few different places, and runs a monthly open mic called Coffee House Poetry, an in-person venue at Episcopal Church in Georgetown in the DC area. That's really cool. So he knows what this is all about, what it takes to put on a reading, what it means when people show up to it. And so I'm thrilled to have you. Walker, thanks so much for being here. Please welcome our featured reader, Walker Valdez.
Hey, how's everybody doing? It's definitely a pleasure to be here. I've been here maybe like four other occasions. I've enjoyed every time that I was here. So I'm definitely thrilled to be here. So yeah, I have some pieces. I did my best to try to put I'm gonna perform only pieces that I have not done. So I was like, I'm trying to, I got some stuff. And I got a little bit of I got some ideas of how I want to do this. I think I want to start off with a spoken word piece, shorter pieces, and then end with the spoken word pieces. All right, so yeah, let's do this. All right. The first one's called Poetry on the Menu. Hey, how are you doing? My name is Walt Poet, and I'll be your poet for this evening and the remainder of this piece. Looks like we have some poetry on the menu. So please take off your coat, kick back, relax, and I hope you brought your appetite for these poetic verses. Next, let me tell you about our specials, because for starters, we have a delicious and delectable delicacy full of alliteration, with a dash of assonance slowly heated and aimed to keep you seated at the table begging for more. As for the entree, don't worry, I have something truly amazing. Sauteed metaphors on a bed of similes, sprinkled with a dab of personification enough to make your plate stand up and dance for joy. Also, you say you're practically starving. Well, that's perfect, because for dessert, we have flambéed hyperbole, enough for you and 40 of your closest friends. Wait, so you don't understand the menu? Well, then say no more, fam. Let me explain. I know that poetry can sometimes feel out of touch and out of reach, like a high-end menu from a restaurant you can barely pronounce. You might think it raves too much about love, or how the world is essentially falling apart right before our effing eyes. Or you might also think that poetry has nothing to offer that Netflix and chill can't already take care of. But I beg to differ, because you know what? The art that lives and breathes on your wall is poetry. The Spotify playlist of your favorite tracks is poetry. And the motivation for your lovemaking sessions to last at least 3 songs is also poetry. And I'm sure you're saying that's what any poet would say. Yes, but typically not so graphically. But according to the Oxford Language Dictionary that breathes inside of my laptop, any intense sense of beauty or emotion can be poetry, which means the first time you had your heart broken was poetry. But I know what you're saying. How can my heart being ripped apart from my chest and then being served to me on a charcuterie board by my first girlfriend be poetry? How can crying alone in a parking lot at 11 p.m. in my rundown Nissan Altima at age 20 after nervous breakdown be poetry? But it is. But then it's also a first kiss and the sight of your newborn child. It can even be the touch of God. But for me, it's definitely setting a stage on fire with just my words. And when me and an audience are sharing a telepathic connection while they're laughing at every punchline, and each word I say means something. And it's hard to explain the feeling that overwhelms and inspires creativity or the need to spark change. But I can tell you that whether you believe it or not, poetry is a necessity. It lives inside of all of us, waiting to come out when we most need it. It is our food, but not just any food. It's food that nourishes the soul. Because poetry, when it's done well, is not just edible lines that we take in and defecate out. It is our compass, map, and raft. And poetry, when it's done well, is our survival gear and reason to persevere when everything inside of us just screams to just give up and quit. And I hope this poem was done well, because in this world full of infinite beauty and pain, poetry is something that we can use more of. But most of all, it's something that we all need. All right. So now I'm going to do some of the shorter pieces. So yeah, let's go. This is called Not Your Typical Poet. I am not your typical poet. I don't speak only in rhyme, and bongos don't magically appear when I have something important to say. I'm not your typical poet. Poems don't just don't just come to me after viewing the constellations, nor do I have the urge to live amongst the trees. I am not your typical poet. I may not have an MFA, but I do have enough poetic vision to fill up a Thanksgiving Day parade float. I am not your typical poet because typical poets may find my writing to be shallow, selfishly focusing on myself when I should be writing about nature and the spiritual being. See, my poems are mostly grounded in reality, except when words like ladybugs crawl up on my arm and rest on my shoulder, waiting for the perfect time to cannonball jump on the page or interrupt me when I'm eating empanadas de queso at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. And sometimes these words don't let me sleep, prying my eyes open in the middle of the night and forcing me to create art that only other atypical people will appreciate. And maybe that's who I choose to write for, create for, bail my soul for. People have had doors slammed in their face time after time, but refuse to stop trying, believing, and dreaming. People who don't know how to be anything else but themselves because at the end of the day, maybe we shouldn't want to be typical, and just maybe we should just want to be original instead. All right, keep it moving. The next one is My Words Can Beat Up Your Words. I wrote this piece a long time ago. I like it. I guess I could say a little bit about myself. Definitely started off as a performance spoken word artist. I've been doing this on and off for a long time, but in my early 20s, for 3 years, definitely spoken word. Maybe when 10 years later, it was like writing some shorter pieces, and now back to performing and spoken word. So this is when I was writing some of the shorter pieces. All right. When I was 22, they said, "You're not reading enough, Wally. To be a writer, you need to read." But how can they tell? I looked down at my notebook and thought, are my words not sophisticated enough? Do they eat with their mouths open? Do other words with doctorates snicker how my words only made it to community college? I wonder with my eyes closed when my words came to life on the page, their backboard baseball caps matched their dirty sneakers. I looked on the corner of the page and found some dancing. Others were crowded around watching a fight by the bar stools. I opened my eyes again and they stopped. It looked normal. That is until I flipped it over the page and found two others making out behind the bleachers. All right, keep it going. This is called The Perfect Poem. I once witnessed a poem die in the hands of someone who taught how to write the perfect poem. Space between lines, metaphors between rhymes, as students' eyes glaze while receiving instructions as lifeless as the ones given by the clerk from the DMV. I sat and thought, I could do better. I'd say read your poem and observe the way words affect every intonation, the way they roll off your tongue like a foreign language. Remember the way these words make you feel them right. I say don't be afraid to scream your poem. React to reactions of faces affected by your words, then strive for it every time. I say creativity needs breathing room. Limits only hinder the imagination. Stifle it in your poem is as weak as a premature infant in an incubator. Nurture the poet. Teach them to walk and they will tower over you like a weeping willow. I could never teach how to write the perfect poem. I'd guide the poet, train them, encourage them to diverge from the norm until I was no longer needed. All right, keep it moving. Poems happen when you need them to. Poems happen not when you want them to, but when you need them to. For me, the need to write poetry can lay dormant, hibernating somewhere in my psyche, refusing to be awakened like a child who needs 5 more minutes of sleep in the morning. But if you can wake it up, then you can't get me to stop thinking of a poem or a feeling, a notion that I have to write to fix myself. Weeks ago, I couldn't fathom that poems would be overflowing in my head, spilling out from my ears, puddles that students have to walk over while I'm at work. Walking down the hallway, breathing poems hang high like chandeliers, crawling inside lockers, sauntering across stage, consuming my attention, not giving me privacy when I do the most ordinary things, like just try to use the bathroom. These poems live with me, knowing the best time to show her their face is when I need someone to nudge me, tell me to stop feeling sorry for myself, and just write. All right, and it's gonna be the last of the shorter poem. And it's like, this is the shortest poem I have. It's called Brevity, and you're right. I once thought a lengthy poem proved sophistication. Any shorter, and you must be a novice. That was before I read poems that unfolded like maps, that told stories through words that sprinkled the page like powdered sugar and empanadas. Sometimes less is more, and imagery can breathe in the tiniest of crawl spaces. of your mind. All right. Hope you all still with me. All right, now we're gonna go into the spoken word pieces. Um, this one I thought was cool, and I've always wanted to do this one because I've seen like people get excited about music poems. So this is my music poem. It's called Ode to a Song. So I've always wanted to write a poem where I celebrate the musical influences that impacted who I am, truly making me a music head. Back in the day, you may have even called it an ode, but if I did, where would I even start? Well, I guess I would start with hip hop, with the way the rapid paced delivery of language in the form of rhymes to a breakbeat lured me to dive inside of my radio speakers, transforming me to a b-boy at a Bronx house party in the 80s, where Kangol hats and Adidas shoes with no laces congregated daily, reliving hair follicles standing on end with Eric B. and Rakim said, "Pump up the volume," or the way all New York hip hop artists must have had claustrophobia from living inside of my CD Walkman my entire 10th grade year, and how all I need to hear is the Triumph instrumental to turn to Inspector Deck's long lost Bolivian cousin. Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 abomatomically, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses can't define how I be dropping these mockeries. Lyrically perform on robbery, flee with the lottery. Possibly they spotted me. Maybe I could talk about the way conga drums rocked me to sleep as a child when my dad had a Glen Gombo play live at a gargantuan-sized boombox cassette tape player. Or how at age 6, I stood on my seat at the Ruben Blades concert, clapping along to claves at the close of the show. Or the feeling of elation that rose when my feet finally learned not to bump into each other while dancing salsa. Maybe I could talk about the first Nirvana song I learned to play in the acoustic guitar in the 8th grade, the way my fingers bent like clothes hangers as I struggled. I could also talk about how my 1995 car stereo system from Circuit City provided the soundtrack to everything from 2 a.m. runs to 7-Eleven, all the way to a makeout session or 2 or 3. Perhaps I could elaborate how I listened to Smashing Pumpkins whenever my parents used to argue, the way the volume exceeded maximum capacity as plate smashed into porcelain floors, and how I found music to be the greatest form of coping mechanism to face the world that never desired more from me aside of my undivided attention. I could go on about when I started taking writing seriously and everyone suggested I listen to less music and instead read the great poets, but I thought to myself, great poets? Then what the hell do you call Tupac, Bob Marley, Nina Simone, Prince, Lawrence Hill, and Nas? Or what about Zach de la Rocha, Juan Luis Guerra, Residente, Mercedes Sosa? Maybe how I would delve into how, as I aged, I learned to appreciate country music and jazz. How Johnny Cash song lives in the pockets of my black shirts. Or how, when I need to relax, I simply visit Herbie Hancock and Cantaloupe Island. To truly make this an authentic ode poem, though, I suppose I'd have to use iambic pentameter or write in a quatrain where each line and rhyme meets perfectly like a line segment in order to form 4 perfect stanzas. Or would I need to speak to the subject of the ode directly? I mean, I could do that, but then where would I even start? All right, keep it moving. A couple more. All right. Yeah, this is like a slam poem. It's called Fly. Fly, I wish to fly. No, I wish to dream. I wish to soar above all the mental and physical limitations put in place by authority that are meant to keep us down. Fly, I wish to fly. No, I wish to be fly. A visual representation of sophistication, a manifestation of a feeling that I'm on the cutting edge style wise, having less to do with expensive clothes and more to do with blending colors faultlessly like a skilled painter does on canvas. Fly, I wish to fly, but not necessarily with wings, though if I must, then let it be long and pointed like a peregrine falcon, and move at speeds higher than 200 miles per hour while I swoop down for salmon, swiping it from the claws of my opposition, also known as my ops. Fly, I wish to fly, but not like blood-sucking insects circling around garbage and feces derived from maggots that often feed on the deceased. Instead, let me fly like a mythological creature like the griffin, except I have no intention of guarding anyone's gold. Instead, I spend my free time battling manticores. Fly, I wish to fly, but not like a legendary superhero with a bright red cape who was born on a distant planet. Instead, I prefer to wear a long black coat like Neo from the Matrix and sport dark sunglasses, flying over endless concepts that enslave our mind, and practicing Kung Fu is my primary form of calisthenics. Fly, I wish to fly. I wish to take flight like a 747 jumbo jet flying 40,000 feet above the sea level over the Bolivian city I was born in, where the mountains kiss the sun, or maybe instead explore space like the Atlas V, landing on a crater in Mars. But I think I'd also need to reach new heights of spiritual awareness and attain a sense of enlightenment and purpose. And I do it without wings or a cape, just a sense of understanding that we can all fly higher than we think we can. It's called a sensation, a reasoning that we all have the ability to fly. Just some of us forgot how. All right. Um, and I got maybe two more poems. All right, keep it moving. All right, this one's called I Got Writer's Block, but I Still Want to Write a Poem. If you've ever called yourself a writer, then you know the feeling of writing something so noteworthy, so profound, that you can't wait for others to read it, listen to it, experience it. And if you call yourself a writer, then you also know the feeling of wanting to write something amazing. But when you try to transfer it on a page, dribble comes out. It's almost like you know what you want to say, but you're so stuck in your head, so sure that your writing won't measure up, that your ideas remain in the draft stage. But let's explore that further. Let's explore what that ideal piece would look like, breathe like, feel like. What does it sound like? What kind of poem do I want to write when there's no rules or guidelines, just me and a page? Because I think I want to write a poem. I want to write a poem not thinking of meter or rhyme or spend hours obsessing over the first two or three lines over and over again. I want to write a poem that makes me laugh out loud as I come up with each line, and like static electricity makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I want to write a poem and not feel guilty if it doesn't include every example of figurative language or use all the elements of poetry at the same time. I want to write a poem and not worry if a publishing editor will love my work. Maybe an audience loving it can be enough. I want to write a poem for me and not solely write for an audience, though the reaction of an audience is honestly one of the biggest reasons I write. I want to write a poem where the words take the shape of a dragon as it's read, rising from the page while blowing clouds of smoke over your head. I want to write a poem that sparks the change I wish to see. I want to write a poem that allows me to levitate on stage while holding a microphone in my hand. I want to write a poem that makes me forget that I used to be terrified of performing for an audience. See, this is the poem I want to write. A poem that takes no prisoners, a poem that breaks conventions. This is the poem I need to write, express, perform, a poem that grabs you by the shirt collar and forces you to pay attention. All right, and I got a last one for y'all. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun. All right, this is when I had my the open mic that I host. It was yesterday. We were last Monday every month in DC Georgetown. And I hadn't done this poem in a while. I'd only done it a couple of times, but I did it yesterday. I liked it, so that's what I'm gonna do. It's my last poem. All right. It's called Nothing Comes from Nothing. In Greek philosophy, nothing comes from nothing is the idea that existence cannot exist from absolute nothingness. There must be a starting point. Shout out to Parmenides. In some religions, it can mean the opposite, and it is the belief that a higher being is able to create a universe from a blank state. Shout out to creationism. And in 1970s soul music, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. You gotta have something to be with me. Shout out to Billy Preston, which really makes me wonder, where do we come from, or better yet, where do I come from? And I'm not simply referring to only location or even biologically speaking, by mentioning that question that I guess I would say, I come from the unfulfilled dreams of parents in mountain air so thin it shortens your breath until you become faint. I come from teachers and doctors disguised as busboys, waiters, and cooks in order to survive in a foreign land. I'm going to say that again. I come from teachers and doctors disguised as busboys, waiters, and cooks in order to survive in a foreign land. I come from non-existent shortcuts where anything worthwhile was earned from refusing to give up even when you really wanted to. I come from conga drums blaring out of boom boxes half my height at 5 years old. I come from eating orange slices during the halftime of Civitan soccer games at age 10. I come from potatoes cultivated in the Andes Mountains and Wu-Tang's 36 chambers living on my tape deck at 12 years of age. I come from my college education taking me over a decade to complete. I come from my first car being a Nissan Altima with dents and a missing hubcap to match. I come from applying to over 7 different schools before getting my first teacher job. I come from being called lazy by teachers who never bothered to question if I had ADHD. So I always make sure to have. I come from Arlington in Fairfax, Virginia, a melting pot nestled outside the city that I used to once take for granted, now happily embrace and appreciate the fact that my children got to be raised here. And I come from a community of poets and musicians that inspire me to create art every day, that inspire me to keep going for my dreams despite my age, that inspire me to dig deep and push myself to be great. Thank you very much for having me. That's it.
Walker, thank you so much. Great set of poems. I love a good dash of assonance. Thanks for including that at
Thank
the
you.
beginning. Nice mix of poems of different lengths. The way you read, like the shorter poems, are like little slam nuggets, if you will. I dug that. Shout out to Circuit City, if I may. Uh, 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 you said you wanted to fly tonight, and I'm just have to tell you, you flew tonight. You know what I'm saying? It was really good. Thank you so much for bringing us, letting us know who you are, so much of who you are through your words and the work that you do. Really dug it. Thank you. I'm going to share the screen and show folks the broadside I made for the poem that you read.
Thank you very much.
My words can beat up your words. I love this poem. Such a cool concept in it. So there you go. People can download this now if they want at the Cobalt Poets website, or it's always there to look at. Did I paste the link in the chat, or did I forget to do that? I forgot to do that. There we go. There's the link in the chat to the Broadsides page. So definitely check that out, download it, print it out, look at it on your screen, whatever you want to do, it's there for you. And please consider tipping Walker for his reading. There's Walker's Venmo ID right there. If you've ever gone to a reading and had the benefit of a hat being passed in your benefit because you were the featured reader, you know how cool it is to get some money for having made art. So the Venmo is that. So please consider doing that for a featured reader. And there you go. Walker, thank you again. Great job. I will quickly mention before we get on to the rest of tonight's open reading that next week our featured reader is Leonora Simonovas. She is a poet whose poem appeared in a recent Academy of American Poets Poem a Day email. So she will be with us next week. That leads us to the rest of tonight's open reading. I think everyone knows all the rules already, so I don't really need to go too much into them, but 2 poems maximum. Less is more is the time limit. Here's who I have on the list: Julian Matthews, Martin Parker, Kath Bella, Siggy, Jackie, and Chris, Michael G. Hickey, Christopher Bogart, Ed Potastic, Jennifer Elise Wang, Dig Wayne, Heather Romero, Kornblum, and Heidi Casa. So there you go. That's our plan for the evening. Martin Parker, you are on deck. Please welcome now our next reader, Julian Matthews. Hello, Julian.
Hi. Brilliant set, Walker. This is called Coral. I've had enough, haven't you? Of being fired up, burned, left to atrophy, backslide, decline like a lump of coal. The vessel of my heart is non-stick, shut like a clamshell with no room for any fragment of you, no nacre, no pearlescent to coat into a gem. My yearning is gravel, slag, sediment at the bottom of the ocean, awaiting a passing polyp to secrete chalky calcium to harden it from the outside, a reef of grief protected from this drowning. Charcoal kept dry lasts a long time, but coral lives for centuries, long enough perhaps to end this longing, this hollow iciness until temperatures rise again, warms a crusty soul, takes on the bleaching that cometh. I break off, gravitate from sureness to shore, stick out from sandy time, refound, not rebound, realigned, not resigned, centered and whole. Let the shell game begin again. Second poem is called Peanut Butter. I'm glad I don't have a nut allergy. In fact, I may have the opposite, an affinity to nuttiness and all the crazies that comes with it. God knows I've had to live with it, to confront it, to wrestle with its restlessness, its drama, its melancholia, its ups and downs. I've unjammed it, twisted and uncapped it, knifed its Bingham plastic form, slapped it on generously, spread it, rolled with it, swallowed hard and digested it. I've eaten it up and in turn let it eat me up. Then picked up the crumbs of my sanity from the floor and moved on. And here we are, out of bread again. Thank you.
We're going to do a fundraiser to get you some more bread, Julian, a bread raiser, if you will. I guess that's what yeast does. All right, thank you for both of those poems. I'm glad the peanut butter one came second because I needed a snack after the first poem. So well done. Thank you so much for being here. A round of applause for Julian Matthews. On deck, the collab. Please welcome now Martin Parker. Hello, Martin.
Hello again, Rick. To everyone in the room, awesome set there, Walker. It's always good to hear you again after a while. So a lot of you know I have a love for languages. But as I hinted at in my question, I've always liked making secret codes and worked on developing a language my own language in high school, but didn't get very far. But I've done a couple languages since then and scripts, and I love making these things up. It's what they call constructing languages, or conlanging in the parlance among the groups of people that like to do this. There's all kinds of stuff online. Anyway, just get to my poem, which is in two parts tonight. I also have had for years had this vision of this novel in my head, and I've been starting to write parts of it, scenes, and open each chapter with a poem, which I have translated into the language of the planet where the protagonist ends up. So this will be first in the language of the planet. This poem is and the title of the book is tentatively called Pathways Through the Prism. Double bange gaba, mago neval vaja, vembe lagu galu, walagu da valja, oda vimna gago, gimbedi bilagu, nanda bidu dole, banda valdo, nobi wale. The prison bends to the light to send new colors out across the sky on pathways that go round the land and blend within my watering eye. And that is from the Poetic Omnibus of Basil Harris, third edition, to potentially opening up a novel that I'm hoping, if the rate I'm going, I can finish by my 70th birthday in about 9 years. So. And I'll put my usual links in the chat. I've got a new design coming out next week.
Sweet. Martin, you just got me thinking that if you have writer's block, why not just invent a language? No one else speaks it. You could say anything you want, and people would just have to believe you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the problem is when I get writer's block in the other language, though, I get that too. So.
Oh, geez. Well, I didn't think about that. Back to the drawing board, my friend. I hope you get that novel done sooner than you think, and congrats on picking it up and starting working on it again. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Martin Parker. On deck is Michael G. Hickey. Please welcome now the collab, Cathabella Wilson, Siggy, Chris from all the way in Japan, and Jackie.
Okay.
Hello to all of you.
Are. I may have to collect the flute player. He knows what order we're in. He probably didn't. Okay, Rick, here we are. So, as you know, we start with some ideas. And so this time I'm calling it How to Hang a Spoon While Humming. And humming was one of our ideas, and especially our most overhanging, you notice the word hang, idea was utensils. Okay, everybody ready here?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. And we have our flute player, how to hang a spoon while humming. All right, Chris.
Spatula, even better than a tongue for retrieving the last bit of delicious from a bowl.
Beautiful. I wouldn't know how to spell spatula. Spatula, as it looks like. Spatula. Very good, Chris. And it's true. Jackie.
He showed me how to hang a spoon on his nose, bringing a smile to me, his unsmiling princess.
Beautiful. Let's see a smile, Jackie. Yeah, look at that beautiful smile. A silver spoon engraved with sugar. I don't use sugar, but it's the sweetest gift ever given. Look at that tiny little R.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to change either. We'll fix it later. Okay, Jackie.
No chopsticks for my instant noodles in the late night. Everybody knows the trick of using two pans.
I didn't know that trick.
How about pencils?
Oh, yeah. And Siggy says that the paintbrushes.
Yeah.
The opposite ends.
Her two wands, she calls them. Jackie calls them her two wands. I'd never heard that before. It's beautiful. She tells me she's a whiz with chopsticks. I can't wait to watch her eat. Siggy, fine dining, Siggy.
Fine dining, Asian restaurant tools. Best idea yet. No knives needed. Carnivores love shears.
Cheers, Jackie.
Cultural potluck. My mushroom chicken left untouched. My boyfriend devoured it with the serving spoon.
Next, he'll hang it from his nose. The other pretty chopstick, engraved with my name, from Kyoto, waiting years for the other Cathabella to show up. I told you that was coming. Siggy, roadside.
Roadside, heading to the organic fair. Coffins for sale. Dog traffic. Good for sales. With music on fiddle and banjo.
You didn't know we were going to use a coffin for a utensil. And Siggy, there's another
His
one.
jalopy hummed. Those early year days of self-repairs, a handy toolbox. Traveling the winding roads along the paths of horses.
I love this one, Jackie.
Mating in the shade trees, the hums from the tails of hummingbirds.
Beautiful.
Humming a made-up tune as I picked Mama Bouquet of Sunshine on my way home from school.
Beautiful. Those little letters. There you are. Beautiful, Chris. I can just see you doing it. A hummingbird hovers near the basket I hung by the feeder. Suggested nest, I tell it. It's so convenient. And now we have one by our favorite Peter. Every time we do this on a Monday, and we're writing, he writes too, but he can't come here. He takes care of his wife. who's had health problems, but he always writes on Rick's flute, and Rick is playing the flute that he wrote on. Pueblo flutist tries to imitate coyote with his flute. They stay far away. I think there's an S. Tries to imitate coyotes with his flute. They stay far away, insulted by the weird stranger. And here he is in person with his coyote old man flute. Right?
No. Well, yes. It's made by a man who went by the name of Coyote Old Man. And you can see there's a coyote jumping over an asterisk or something. I don't know what he's jumping over.
Coyote.
A star.
It's pretty, and he makes the flutes, and this was
Coyote jumping over the asterisk was, of course, the second choice for the lyrics Cow Jumped Over the Moon.
That's right. Perfect.
and there's a turtle and there's a dragonfly. You don't have to know that.
But now we do.
Now we do. We know more than most people.
Understood. Rick is operating on a need-to-know basis regarding flute knowledge and decorations. Great job, guys. Really enjoyed that. Chopsticks Secrets, possibly the title for that piece, or a future prompt, or just something we need to figure out what the hell they're hiding. I'm not sure. But thank you guys very much. Fun tonight. I don't recommend using pencils in food. Lead is not something you want to consume. Inkless pens, maybe, but then again, what do I know in an emergency where you need to eat food somehow. Thank you guys very much, Kathabella, Jackie, Chris,
Thank you.
and Rick. Thank you guys very much, and Siggy. All right. On deck, round of applause for the collab, of course. On deck, Christopher Bogart. Please welcome now Michael G. Hickey. Hello, Michael.
Say as a precursor that I love Oprah Winfrey. This is called On the House. Christmas morning, a white Christmas at that, and Arnold is in fine spirits. It's been 2 years to the day since his last drink, and he has learned all the AA cliches like one day at a time, progress, not perfection, let go, let God. He has been living under the pink cloud of sobriety and doesn't hate himself anymore. Even his wife, Carlotta, who nearly divorced him twice, is starting to like him again. The gifts are under the tree, ornaments gleam, and blinkers wink on and off. Carlotta is in the kitchen, her black hair tied up in a bun. She's baking a ham with rings of pineapple on top, a maraschino cherry toothpicked inside each ring. She is preparing for the upcoming onslaught of relatives and the big Christmas dinner, in-laws and outlaws. Meanwhile, Arnold is in the living room watching TV in his man cave, specifically the Mormon Tabernacle Choir singing Yuletide offerings most angelically arranged and with all the expected seasonal panache. A commercial comes on. Arnold channeled surfs. Oprah features an impoverished village near Nairobi. The little black children wear broad smiles despite their plight, despite the fact they have almost no food, no clean water, no medicine. Essentially, they have nothing but each other. Every day they go to the river and fill plastic jugs with brown water, the same water in which they bathe, the same water in which jungle animals defecate. And to make matters worse, several of the children are quarantined due to eating virus-riddled monkey meat. They have bumps and sores from head to toe. 20% of these children born in this village will die before age 5. Dysentery, malnutrition, and starvation are next door neighbors. Incredibly, in just 20 minutes of Oprah, Arnold's pink cloud has darkened into a vicious shitstorm. Arnold hates himself and Carlotta and God and all the American hedonism and narcissism and the excess scraps of food tossed into garbage bins from four-star restaurants, which could easily feed these villagers like kings. He hates rock stars and movie stars and Wall Street lobbyists in silk suits who dupe ignorant politicians out of $700 billion this year alone. That's billion with a B. More than anything, though, he hates fucking Oprah, who keeps saying that each of these villages could dig a well for just $5,000, yet Oprah's worth $1.5 billion. That's billion with a B. Why doesn't she dig the goddamn wells? Why doesn't she save the destitute villagers? 2 years sober, and suddenly there's nothing Arnold wants to do more than belt down a fifth of Bacardi 151, with the possible exception of sticking a 10mm Glock in his mouth and providing some new Christmas decor for the old wallpaper. What the hell is this? Carlotta shrieks. She has opened one of Arnold's gifts. I told you I wanted a sewing machine. The sewing machine is hidden in the closet. This is more of a gag gift than anything. A pair of edible panties called Chocothong. Their marriage had become decidedly platonic, and Arnold could imagine her later that night with a large bowl of French vanilla ice cream, crumbling the sexy confection all over the top like chocolate sprinkles. Arnold had read that women reach their sexual peak at age 40. Carlotta turned 40 last June, yet she and Arnold didn't even sleep in the same room, much less the same bed. Arnold knows if he watches another minute of Oprah, he's going to spontaneously combust or worse. And he wants to go buy something because that's what Americans do when they're desperate. They buy shit they don't need and can't afford. Unfortunately, all the local department stores are closed, but fortunately, all the local cocktail lounges are not. And that's what drunks do when they play emotional dodgeball. They get drunk. So Arnold pulls up his boots and hat and coat, and Carlotta barks, "Where the hell are you going? They'll be here any minute." Arnold violently slams the front door, and icicles attempt to impale him. He climbs in the car. He knows he has another relapse in him, but he isn't sure if he has another recovery. He should find an AA meeting, but decides instead to check out his former watering hole, the Silver Tap Bar and Grill, to see if any of the old gang are celebrating the holidays. The Silver Tap provides a free cocktail on the house in exchange for an AA birthday coin of any denomination, one per customer, please. The descending snowflakes are immense, like infant hands floating towards Earth. As Arnold's car slides around in the slush and snow, he feels his spirit descending in a death spiral like a World War II fighter jet shot down over the Pacific, a trail from its tail of swirling black smoke. He should call his sponsor. He should call one of 11 phone numbers he has on his phone. But instead, he keeps driving. A block from the tavern, with his heart palpitating, Arnold is waiting at a red light when he hears the scream, "Help!" It seems a nearby homeowner has climbed a ladder and is standing on his pitched gable roof. He was melting snow and ice with a blowtorch so the canopy didn't cave into his living room below, but now he has gone too far. The house is on fire. As he tries to scurry down the ladder, shaking demonstrably, hyperventilating, and the ladder has subsequently fallen into the snow-encrusted bushes below. Please, someone help! In a brief moment of clarity, Arnold realizes he can't do anything for the starving kids in Kenya right now, but he can try to save this crazy son of a bitch, so he throws the car in park, runs up to the house, and hoists the ladder up against the smoldering two-story duplex. He calls 911 on his cell, and within minutes, the roar of the fire engine is audible in the distance. Later, when the fire is extinguished and the commotion dies down, the grateful homeowner offers Arnold a beer or a glass of scotch. Arnold smiles a little, but declines. The man thanks him profusely over and over. He hugs Arnold with frozen tears in the corners of his eyes. A news crew pulls up in a van with a satellite feed. A thin woman with blonde hair and a camel hair coat interviews Arnold, asks him how it feels to be a hero. And later that night in bed with Carlotta, in the same bed finally, they watch the 11 o'clock news in each other's arms. There's no such thing as a hero, Arnold says, just average people like me trying to survive. And when the news is over, Carlotta whispers, "You're a hero to me, Snooky. You'll always be a hero to me." And she proceeds to slip out of the negligee and into the choco-thong because, hey, after all, at least for another 29 minutes, it is still Christmas. Thank you.
I'm thinking I'm going to invite Oprah to read, and for her reading, I want her set to be just digging wells. What do you think, Michael?
Sounds good. I watched Oprah every day, and Phil Donahue too. I learned a lot from those two. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks so much for being here. Round of applause for Michael G. Hickey. On deck, Ed Potastic. Please welcome now Christopher Bogart. Hello, Christopher.
Hey, Rick, how you doing? First of all, I want to just push this. We're still selling them. And for those of you that don't know, a few of you are in this. And I just sent a check for $800 to ACLU, proceeds from this book. This is about what's going on in the country today. I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't get my mind out of that. So the first poem is going to be about it. And then the second one, I'm going to follow Denise Dumars and talk a little about autumn. So here's the first one. It's called Little Boots, Bone Spurs. Legions call him Little Boots, and Latin Caligula. His father, a Caesar, as well as a soldier. His grandfather, Drusus, was a soldier too. For a fee, doctor diagnosed young Donald with bone spurs. His father spent his war segregating projects at home. His grandfather, a German, was a draft dodger too. Boots' grandfather, Drusus, bore the name Germanicus because he fought fierce tribes in Germany and brought gold, glory, and laurels home to Rome. Spur's grandfather, Frederick, quickly fled Germany. When he feared being drafted in the Bavarian army, he traveled to the Yukon, bought a whorehouse in Whitehorse. Myth has it that Caligula, in a peak of petty vengeance, appointed his horse Incitatus a Roman consul, gave him a jewel-encrusted bridle to sport on the Senate floor. Donald J. Trump, his own vengeful pettiness, appointed horse heroin addict RFK Jr., Secretary of Home, Health and Human Services, despite dangers that he posted to the health of us all. Little Boots let lions loose in the Circus Maximus and in the Roman Forum as a means of execution. Many an innocent victim lay in the path of the lion's grasp. Bone Spurs often bragged that he could always take liberties at teenage beauty pageants and with women by the score. No pussy, he bragged, was far from his entitled grasp. Little Boots was married 3 times and was rumored to have had many sexual relations, some with his sisters and everyone else's wives. Bone Spurs, who was married 3 times too, was rumored to have had sex with hookers and minors. You can read all about it if they're ever released within the Epstein files. Little Boots demanded that the legions of Rome parade straight up the sea-locked Isle of Britain to defeat King Neptune and capture 45 million clamshells. Bone Spurs demanded a grand military parade too. Abram tanks and Bradley vehicles tore up Constitution Avenue. The cost of this fiasco, robbed from the treasury, was 45 million clams. Little Boots was Rome's emperor fewer years than he'd expected, just 4 years. Until one day in Rome's Colosseum, packed full of fawning sycophants, his Praetorian guards stabbed him 30 times, ending his imperial career. Bone Spurs is presently surrounded by sycophants, singing his praises for all to hear. But because of the Constitution, he can never be emperor. He can only hold the office for 4 years more. And then the other poem is called, it's actually from a book that I'm going to show you the cover of in a minute, called, that just came out, called Paint Me a Sky. My country is an autumn place. Since I was a child and looked around the classroom at pictures of pilgrims, dressed all in black, with white linen ruffs, walking through forests of new fallen leaves, stalking wild turkey for the fall harvest feast, my country became an autumn place, a country of crimson and gold. But I've never lived in the land of the pilgrims. I live near the millstone that sits by the river in Thomas Eaton's town. where yellow, rust, and maroon mums line up single file across hundreds of front lawns, where cornstalks of parchment are tied to lit lampposts, and where carved pumpkins populate porches on home after home after home. I live in the land where the sharp scent of apple and the aroma of cinnamon mixed with moist smells of damp leaves raked into piles and lined up in neighborhoods on curb after curb. I live in the autumn town where, at that time of year in early November, the promise of pilgrims is dutifully fulfilled by walking down Grant Street to Memorial School in a brisk autumn eve. And just as the sun sets over red sugar maples, extinguishing flames of their slow-falling leaves, my friends and my neighbors draw from all directions, perform their civic duty to affirm their equality with their fellow pilgrims all throughout the land. The soft, friendly banter centers round possibilities of frost on porch pumpkins, on the last cut of grass, and their plans for Thanksgiving, both as holiday and as holy day. And as I leave the school on that late autumn evening to make my way home down well-worn sidewalks from Grant to Clinton, I realize how deeply my country is really an autumn place, a small town, an Eton town, whose roadways are lined with piles of raked leaves. As I turn round the corner to the street where I live, I look up ahead, strain my eyes in the twilight and the crisp autumn air to look toward the lamplight in myriad porch windows, to feel their warm welcoming, their traditional blessing, and the warm glow of home. Thank you.
Christopher, thank you so much. Good work. I really like the line, "My country's really an autumn place." And thanks for your good work that you did on and continue to do with Silence is Consent. $800 is nothing to sneeze at. It's $800 that the ACLU didn't have before you did this. So well done. Round of applause for Christopher Bogart. On deck, Jennifer Elise Wang. Please welcome Ed Potastic. Hello, Ed.
Hello, Rick. Thank you for being such a wonderful host that deserves a toast that we love the most, that goes coast to coast, that never ever boasts. Hello, my name is Ed Potastic, home feeling fantastic. Please, I'm going to join my rhyme. Five was sublime. I got two poems, so I'll take them as time. But first, Walker, I feel like I'm walking on sunshine. Your words are simply edgy and divine. Your words are jolts in my mind. Your poems go down smooth like quality moonshine. All right. Thank you so much for a feature. All right. Regatta of Castanets. We play a daily sport. We play till we hurt. The sport of crazy life, the field of rough strife. The progress down our face, the cheering our warm grace. The player with nothing to lose, the good fortune for you to choose. I know what you're thinking before your mind keeps shrinking. You're quickly adapting on your feet. You hate the feeling of defeat. You memorize complex patterns. You embrace failing concerns. Your boss's random penalties, the growth of specialities, the maneuvering of traffic, the rebound of the frantic, the obstacles of the goal, the challenges of the soul, the bad luck of the referee, the penalties of the tragedies, the energy of great teamwork, the burns of two-faced smirks, the admiration of the crowd, the melodies sung so loud, the rebunctious of mascots, the adrenaline of your hip shots, the applause of your cheerleaders, the weeping cries of your defeaters. You feel the rush of the sport, playing on life's bumpy court. You fail. Please get back up. Don't worry. It's only a tiny stub. You're going to lose each time, but victory is never far behind. It gets repeatedly harder and harder. You'll get more sharper than darker. Keep on believing yourself. Keep on improving oneself. You're not playing on your own. You're not alone. It's in your bones. Life can be mercifully unforgiving, but the game and fans keep on singing. Thank you. This other one's called You Are. I built a room on my own. Not me, but you, I, and all. Let our imagination run free. Scars and bumps on our walls. We're building shacks and trees. We shake, collapse, rebuild, or fall. We could be rivers, oceans, or seas. We can be short, medium, or tall. Some might disagree, but grab some tea. Please be mindful of your cholesterol. We're homes, condos, tapes, or DVDs. Some of you deserve this wake-up call. Please be happy with extra glee. This isn't a relapse or a downfall. Please don't scream like a banshee. Hey, don't go yelling at City Hall. Please be a barrel full of monkeys. Don't be as plastic as a Barbie doll. You're whatever you believe or see. Please just don't be a crazy goofball. You could be a concert, play, or jamboree. You could be a jawbreaker or a gumball. You could be a medal, a trophy, or Oscar nominee. You could be a snowball, a baseball, or a basketball. No, you can't. Okay, hold up. Pardon me. I don't have foresight or a magic crystal ball. Yes, you could be a mansion or a yacht. Fiddly dee. You could be Aleve, Tums, Benadryl, or Tylenol. Please don't go on a mindless shopping spree. This isn't a spitball, a stonewall, or a pitfall. You could be a CEO, teacher, scholar, or VIP. You could be the Statue of Liberty or the Taj Mahal. You can be whatever you want in the land of kind of free. You're what you apply, manage, and install. You could be an ant, a spider, a butterfly, or a queen bee. You could be Saul, Squall, Paula, or Paul. No, but you're doing it now. It's called poetry. Poetry could be scribbles, carvings, or graffiti on the wall. You're what you can be. It's not under lock and key. You could be a sun, a cloud, a storm, or a parasol. You don't need a college degree. Take it from me. Thank you.
Ed, thank you so much. I need to clarify, I do boast sometimes. You mentioned at the beginning, host who doesn't boast. So, I can't get completely off the hook for that. I'm also, the phrase quality moonshine, is that like an oxymoron? I thought moonshine was just like, well, we just got it. We're just doing it. We're just putting it together because we can't get it anywhere else.
Good question. There's a good quality moonshine, just where you find. You have to go where the signs.
I'm looking for it. That's all I'm saying. All right. Well, Ed, thank you so much for being here. Round of applause for Ed Potastic. On deck, Dig Wayne. Please welcome Jennifer Elise Wang. Hello, Jennifer.
Hey, I've got two. They both have visual elements, so I'm gonna share screen. The first is a poem I wrote like a while back, and I think it's a fun one since we've been talking about poems about poetry. So this is The Magician. I am a magician, armed with secrets and craft, making the unreal materialize before your eyes. I also make trinkets, buildings, and people disappear as though they never existed. I have studied David Copperfield and the Pendragons. Of course, I am familiar with the famous Harry, and I know the pen's magic. I have changed my name, made it alliterative and abbreviated, something to emblazon on a marquee or a masthead that people won't forget. With sleight of hand, manipulation of the mind, I create more believers in one night than a missionary in one lifetime. You know, matter is neither created nor destroyed. Telepathy, telekinesis, and teleportation do not exist. But in the moment I have your attention, you believe ladies can appear out of thin air. I can read minds, men can fly, elephants can vanish to where the ladies came from. You believe every word I say. My pen's magic does not use trap doors, smoke, or mirrors. My stage is blank, a sheet of paper. My tools, words, and punctuation. My tricks, metaphors, and meter. Without them, I am nothing more than a flamboyant teller of half-truth. But anybody can form sentences, erase them into non-existence. Tricks and tools are not the secrets to success. The act is nothing when you cannot summon symbols, settings, and characters. When you have nothing to lose with their absence, when there is no meaning behind the words. You must be a believer too. Now you see it, and now you. And the second piece is, so today is unofficially International Pole Dancers Day, and it's unofficial because the official holiday people are haters, basically. And ironically, I shared a picture of pole dancing and also got told it was inappropriate. So I wrote a poem. I went back to write one of my pole dance haikus in response to that. So, and this was the picture. And the move is called Butterfly. So the haiku is butterflies' muscles flamboyantly flexing, is not obscene.
Jennifer, thanks for the visual. Happy pole dancing day to you. I'm happy to write a letter if I can help make it official. Just let me know who to send that to. I love the way the first poem ended. It didn't resolve. There's something in music you may know where if the song sound, if the line or the verse, it sounds like it ends, like there isn't more. That's means it resolves. And so sometimes people write things that don't resolve, and it creates this ambient, interesting thing, unexpected thing there. And that's kind of what that poem did at the end there. So well done.
All right, thank you.
Round of applause for Jennifer Elise Wang, leaving us wanging at the end of that first poem. Sorry, apologize greatly for having said that. On deck, Heather Romero Kornblum. Please welcome now Dig Wayne. Hello, Dig.
Hello. Sawdust and elephant shit. The sky is full of balloons today. A rabbit hides in my hat. The lion tamer's whip is made of spaghetti. His boots melt in lava cake. A high wire spider axe spits in the face of danger. The sword swallower's wife is suing for divorce on the grounds of coffee. The trapeze flyers wear frozen smiles as they plummet to the sawdust. The trapeze flyers wear frozen smiles as they plummet to the sawdust. Their sequined costumes explode on impact, bedazzling the elephant shit. Everyone laughs and applauds. I forgot my mother died. Empty pink donut box with grease stains on the bottom. Sanka decaf doesn't stain dentures. Can you take me to the doctor tomorrow, the next day, and the next day? My car is making a funny noise and I don't want to drive it anymore. I need some shoes that are more comfortable. These brand new ones you bought me hurt my feet. I'm tired of these doctors poking and prodding me. Why are you afraid of dying? Are you a sinner? You don't know how to love. Thanks for listening.
Nice work tonight, Dig. I wrote a poem a while back called Things My Mother Has Said to Me, which had a lot of out of context, but still kind of. Once she said to me, does your cat masturbate? Mine does. So, that got in a poem.
Wow, yeah, that's good. Thanks, Mom.
There's a whole list of them. Enjoyed that. Don't forget about your mom. That's all I'm saying.
Well, this is all artistic license, isn't it?
Everything.
How could I forget my mom died? How
everything.
could I have a friend and I post things and stuff and he comments. I posted a picture the other day of a friend of mine. We're at a football game and I said, my brother so-and-so and doing that. And he writes back, he goes, I know this guy for 40 years. He goes, geez, I didn't know you had a brother. I knew you had a sister, but I didn't know you had a brother. I said, you have this literal mindset, He goes, how can I know this guy 40 years? He doesn't know I have a brother. Of course I don't have a brother. I said, maybe it's a black thing, but you're my brother too. So, this literal thinking. Anyway, I didn't forget my mom, Rick. Sorry, it's the gummies. It's the gummies. I'm like this.
Thank God. Yeah, I do. My whole thing is interpreting things literally. So, it's a lot of fun reading signs out in other countries as a result, or the no humping sign, which you'll find stenciled on trains at Travel Town in Griffith Park.
No humping. What about Wash Me John? Wash me, John. Remember in the old days, people would write on dirt on the cars with their fingers. They say, wash me, John. They left the John out these days. It just says, wash me. What happened to John?
I guess he got a better gig. I don't know.
I think that's a poem. Sorry, I'll shut up. I'm just yapping on.
I'm looking forward to that poem next week, Dig.
Wash me, John. That's a good one. Yeah, don't be surprised.
I will not. The not so literal Dig Wayne, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thanks for being here, Dig.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Dig. On deck, Heidi Casa. Please welcome now Heather Romero Kornblum. Hello, Heather.
Hey, yeah, glad to be back. I'm gonna read. I think I'm gonna do this one. And then yeah, for the first one. It's called Waiting. I wanted to build a home with you, somewhere in the marshy grass of the beach. There is a woman still waiting, wedding dress like seaweed. Green was her favorite color. Her hair was strings by the end. Arms frozen, back bowed forward from the wind, eyes seared, mouth contorted. She must have been screaming something when she looked back. So that's that one. And then I'm going to read one that is in the third edition of Zest of the Lemon that just came out. It's called Survives. What survives a fire? We had homes filled with pictures, wedding dresses, and unreturned tuxedo shoes. Favorite sweaters, lounge chairs pointed at a TV, couches that remembered fights, scuffed carpeting, matchbox car collections, gem collections, plates for hosting, too many unused birthday candles, things a relative brought from their country or their travels, favorite soups frozen in freezers, thank you cards waiting to be sent, dresses that no longer fit and evoked mixed memories, piles of mail, projects left in corners, dreams of an Etsy shop, vows to be renewed or to be broken, garbage that no one wanted to take out, litter boxes and cat beds, Roombas, Temu junk, framed diplomas and certificates of achievement, bottles of wine waiting for the occasion, crumbs someone left on a counter, toys for all ages, skinny mirrors and fat mirrors, holiday gifts still in their boxes, prescription meds that took too long to be approved by insurance, old journals that were going to be typed up, sleepless nights, health scares, pride in the ability to provide, smudges on walls from family dinners or food fights, trees that shaded a window. What survives those random licks of flame? Pieces that may or may not fit with other pieces to make something recognizable, tapestries of neighbors, mosaics broken and scattered, sometimes reassembled, sometimes with spaces where new pieces can fit. Thanks. Yeah, so that's a list poem for the people who experienced the fires.
Well done, Heather. Nice to hear it. The way you ended the first poem reminds me of what I was just speaking about. With the sort of was unresolved, the image of the person just at the end there. She must have been screaming something, and then, well, we're never going to find out what. I mean, it's just you leave people really wanting more in a sense, and I thought that was really cool.
Thank you. Actually, that I should have done the visual. That was, maybe I'll submit it tonight still. That was a response to Rattle's visual something for September. Yeah, maybe I should have pulled up the picture that goes with, but yeah, thanks so much.
That it's cool without the I mean, I'm not saying that my experience in hearing that was bad. I thought it was cool, but providing context is cool too.
Yeah, well, thanks again. Yeah.
All right, Heather, thanks for being here. Nice to see you again. Round of applause for Heather Romero Kornblum. On deck, me to close out the open mic. Please welcome now Heidi Casa. Hello, Heidi.
Hello, Rick. Hello, everybody. I have two. I have a short prose poem first. Sound travels light. An older woman and a younger woman walk toward me. Opera singing wafts in the doors, so clear and immediate, one of them must be serenading us. But the pair appear blasé, intent on conversation, so I think the music comes from elsewhere. They could be a woman and daughter, people who brought a radio with them. The presumed mother's heavy breasts appear very painful, her back bent by weight, like mine sometimes. They leave the elevator, and I hear angelic singing again. Certainly one of the women. But it sounds like the song rises from inside me and also arrives from a great distance. Grace filling the dirty parking garage. And then this, since inspired by what Walker read, and then what other people have read about poetry. So this one was the Once Upon a Poem anthology that some of y'all are in, many of y'all are in. This is poetry. This is poetry if we do not write it, writes Virginia Woolf in her novel The Waves. And I write that quote on a sign and hang it on my wall. My roommate is confused. No, poetry is poetry, he insists. He loves rhyming. He's preoccupied with poetry's dress and dance. A tendril of fire, warm mug hands, a welcome or a curse. Poetry brings me to a place where I meet myself, at once familiar and disturbing. Poetry also brings me to a place where I escape myself and other drudgery. So then, poetry is spirit, what we can't explain, but always need. A wind in the sail, or equally an unstirred pond. Is poetry the motion, the stillness, the question, the answer? Poetry has nothing to do with the real world, says a fiction writer. I understand what she means, but also don't. Poetry is not money. I guess my relationship with fiction is fast and loose too, and under the table. Poetry is philosophy, says a poet whose first book has just come out. I can't argue with her certainty. Plus, I love philosophy. The dentist says, "Oh, poetry, how calm and peaceful." I can't withhold my laughter. The book on my lap is called Killing. But I know what he means. He thinks poetry is soft beauty, nothing brutal. Poetry is simply a way of being in the world, seeing, hearing, and collecting shapes that form us. Poetry gathers bits of sticks and leaves. She cups them in her hands and shapes a nest. Poetry brings me to a place where words fail me, yet poetry is the words that take me there. That's poetic, someone says, when they mean hard to understand. Like Magritte's pipe, is it the image or the idea or the philosophy or their mingling? I love how poetry is a shapeshifter with a dark core of blood red pulsing. I know it's not withering, except when it needs to. I know it's a leap and life and a friend. I only know that reading or writing or hearing poetry invites us in if we let it. I only know that my relationship with words remains unbroken by others, though they've tried. Thank you.
A lot of great words in your words tonight, Heidi. Poetry is actually a fantastic line and thing to think about it. Even though the opposition character in your poem read that, yeah, I mean, you could look at that person and go, "Yes, that's right," and still be oppositional, I guess, to what they meant to say. And I also love my relationship with poetry is under the table. Very cool.
He's
Thank you
not
for being.
wrong. Poetry is poetry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, when you get into defining what that word means, that's when it becomes a whole other thing. But what can you do? Heidi, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Heidi Casa. I'm going to close out with two poems. You may know about Silver Birch Press. They're an all online deal, a website, and a daily email of people responding to themes or prompts that they publish. Their prompt this time around was insects and bugs, or possibly bugs and insects. I'm not sure. But this is the piece that I wrote for them. It's called Disruption at the Caterpillar Orgy. That tree in DeWitt, New York, across the street from the college where I was the soccer team's ball boy back in 1981, that could only be described as an orgy of caterpillars. And I'm realizing this run-on sentence might have you confused that the soccer team was an orgy of caterpillars and not the tree, which is not the case. I also think it's important to mention that back in 1981, and honestly, it could have been earlier, I had no idea what the word orgy meant, but it was right at the time in my life when I would have wanted someone to tell me. I tried keeping one of the caterpillars alive by essentially kidnapping it and keeping it in a jar in my bedroom, the same bedroom where I tried to hide an outside kitten, and that only lasted for about an hour before my mother found out and made me put it back outside. I poked holes in the jar. For the caterpillar, I want to be clear, the kitten was not kept in a jar, and added a stick and a couple of leaves and a smaller bottle cap full of water in case it wanted to drink or swim. I thought the caterpillar, I called him Herbie, fell in the water off. I think the caterpillar, I called him Herbie, fell in the water off the stick, and I thought she, was dead, but used everything I had learned from Frankenstein films to try to bring him back to life with a 9-volt battery, at which point I realized that Herbie wasn't dead, he or she was just waterlogged. I may have mentioned this in another poem a long time ago, but my hard drive is filled with an orgy of poems, so you can't expect me to keep track of these things, and I don't think it's a crime to mention something again. Not like the crime of the caterpillar kidnapping and the caterpillar murder by drowning and electrocution. I would never set foot by that tree again. They know exactly who I am. And now I'm going to read a poem about Moses, but it just got me, as I was looking at the title here, thinking I could combine all my interests and say it was a poem about Moses. But I'm not going to do that. Thank you for listening. This is, we're at the second to last, maybe the third to last, I forget, Torah portion, almost at the end of this thing, responding to this line of text: "Look at the land, for I will allow you only to see the land from afar. You will not enter there to the land I am giving to the Israelites." The whole, if you don't know the backstory there, Moses, after 40 years of leading the Israelites through the wilderness, gets them to where they were going, but then doesn't get to go in himself because he hit a rock with a stick to make water come out of it instead of just talking with it nicely a long time before this. And we're at that point where he doesn't get in. The poem is called Moses Doesn't Get. This is heavy. We've known this guy for 4 books now. One mistake at a rock and he's canceled. That's capitalized on purpose. Oh, editors, oh, proofreaders, oh, book readers, learn from this. Know where your water comes from. Don't deliver it in anger. The repercussions won't take into consideration your recently completed 40-year project or your perfectly delivered mountaintop song. Moses, we wish you could have seen what we've done with the place. We could certainly use your divine given guidance. There never was one like you before, and to my knowledge, hasn't been again. Okay, there you go, people. Thank you all very much for being here. Thank you to Walker Valdez for being a fantastic featured reader. Walker, I hope you've been reading the chat room because many people have said all kinds of really nice things about how they appreciated your reading. There's the things I pasted earlier. You can tip Walker for his reading via Venmo. Please do that. And also download the broadside for his poem at the link there, where of course you can see all the broadsides. You can click on email list if you're not on our email list and add yourself to that. And you can see the calendar of who is coming up next. As I mentioned earlier, Leonora Simonovis will be here next week. That's it, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Again, the Ask All to Unmute button has been clicked.
Thanks,
Thank
Rick.
you, everyone.
Good
Thanks so
stuff
much,
tonight,
Rick.
everybody.
Thank
Good night.
you,
To
Right.
see everyone.
everybody from tomorrow.
Next time.
See you next time.
Thank you. Good night.
Toda Rabba.
Come together.
Take it
Bavakasha.
easy. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, take it easy.
Yes, thank you for being here.